This is the RMI Expedition Podcast. Welcome to RMI Expeditions Podcast. Wherever you are, thanks for making us a part of your day. I'm your host, Dave Conlon. I'm a senior guide with RMI Expeditions. Every month, we're bringing you this podcast, chock full of great information on climbing and mountaineering, with exclusive interviews, trip reports, and tips and tricks from the men and women of RMI Expeditions. This podcast is for you. In April 2008, three RMI senior guides, Jason Thompson, Tyler Jones, and Seth Waterfall, traveled to the country of Georgia, just south of Russia. Their aspirations were to be the first to climb Mount Shikara, 17,060 feet, and the first to ski down its beautiful 5,500-foot western couloir. What they discovered outside the steep chutes and beautiful lines of the Svaneti mountain range was a country nestled in the Caucasus Mountains with an immense cultural identity and rich in alpine climbing and ski mountaineering history that once flourished with native Georgians and is now more or less dormant in alpine climbing activities. With us today is Jason, JT, and Tyler Jones. JT and Tyler, how's it going?
Going pretty well today. Yeah, Tyler just got into town this morning out here in Bozeman, Montana. So, we're looking forward to doing some ice climbing and skiing over the next week or so out here.
Right on. How's the fall going for you, Tyler?
Fall's been going super well. Went to Yosemite Valley and climbed on El Cap on the nose and with Laura. And done some skiing and ice climbing out here in Bozeman and skiing out in Washington in the last few weeks.
You know, today, despite all your other climbing and skiing exploits, we want to concentrate on your mission to Georgia. And I wanted you to start off first with basically telling us what got you motivated to go over to Georgia and explore that region of the world.
Yeah, I guess the trip started out with applying for a grant for the Hansard Memorial Fund, and kind of the objective of that grant was to find a region in the world that hadn't seen or seen any ski traffic, and as well as mixing it with some mountain culture. So that's kind of how we came upon beginning putting together the trip to Georgia.
And who was Hans? Do you mind telling us real quick?
Hansard was a really talented ski mountaineer, and he was living in Bozeman, Montana, and he was a ice climber, ski mountaineer. He was a North Face athlete, and he just really enjoyed traveling in the mountains and skiing them, and experiencing new cultures. And he was also a really talented writer, and so he was able to kind of combine all those passions together and go out and ski, climb, and write about his experiences in the mountains.
And Tyler, once you guys, received that scholarship, how long did it take you to plan this out? I mean, Georgia's not exactly, going to climb in the Rockies or going to ski up in Washington. So how long did it take you to plan?
It took a few months, and ultimately, our initial planning happened maybe, of the idea of the trip happened maybe 6 months before, but most of the actual fine-tuned planning and receiving the grant all happened basically within a month before we were supposed to leave, and we kind of put everything together and finally bought our plane tickets, and then we're committed to heading to the Republic of Georgia.
So were there any, JT, hurdles for you along the planning mission? I mean, anything that you didn't expect come your way?
Looking back on it, I think we definitely put in a lot of work into planning this trip. It was definitely one of the first big expeditions that I had been on, and especially planning it from the ground up. it was a really fun process to go through, putting an expedition like this together to a country that, frankly, I didn't really know exactly where it was until we started researching it. And for the most part, I'd say that the planning went really smooth, and seemed like the more pre-planning we did, big dividends during the trip. Overall, the trip ran very smoothly. And it just seemed to be a product of how well we planned out the trip. So,
yeah, that kind of makes sense that you planned a lot, and because the folks that are listening, you guys just did. You not only completed a first ascent, but you completed a first descent. So, this is not going to climb, Disappointment Cleaver on Rainier. This is going to an area of the world that no human really has gone before. So for folks that are listening in that maybe don't have that experience, is there one thing that you could point out that helped you in that planning process, like one specific thing? Pictures, maps, anything like that, Tyler?
Yeah, for sure. I would like the number one resource I think we used in the end was Google Earth, and that was due to having a hard time getting basically the Russian version of the Georgian maps, and Google Earth actually has quite up-to-date, photographs, and we were able to figure out the general slope angle of the lines we wanted to ski and sort of get the general lay of the land and where a good camp would be outside of avalanche hazard. And so, yeah, Google Earth was certainly key to, figuring out how we were supposed to drive there and kind of getting the whole big picture plan, and still is one of the major tools that I use on planning any climb or expedition.
So you took 6 months to plan this out, and now you find yourself over in Georgia. Just tell us a little bit about that experience. What city did you fly into? What was the culture like? How did it, maybe differ from other experiences?
Yeah, I think, we didn't know what to expect heading over there. And so we flew into the capital city of Georgia, Tbilisi, and we're really had a good interaction with the folks in our initial impression of Georgia. Really friendly people, and treated us really nicely over there, and that was refreshing because we didn't really know what to expect heading over there, and what their impressions were of Americans in that part of the world. So we had a positive experience for sure with the culture and people of Georgia.
Did you have any surprises while you're in Georgia? And then we'll talk about the mountain.
I would say the biggest thing that I was impressed by was just really getting a sense for how many mountains and how many places there are out there to go and discover, for one. And for two, we had heard of all this robbery and thievery and stuff from tourists and stuff in their country, and they've restructured their government in the last few years, and basically, in turn, have basically come to really be very fond of Americans, much more so than Western Europeans. And I think that was probably one of the things that sticks out most in my mind that surprised me as far as the cultural acceptance there.
That seems somewhat rewarding. Nowadays, it seems like you have to go to the brink of the, certain countries in order to accomplish a first ascent or descent, and to enter a country and feel somewhat welcomed and, have that great experience. That's got to be a huge relief.
It was, yeah. It was, anytime I think where you can go into a country that you've never been before, don't speak their language at all, and feel welcomed, that's a good feeling. And then, once we got into the smaller village of Ushguli, which is basically in the foothills at the base of where we wanted to start our ascent of Mount Shahara, there was a very personal, and we stayed with a host family in Ushguli and treated us very well. And so it was fun to experience this almost a subculture of the people that we experienced in the capital city at Tbilisi. I don't know, just more of a mountain culture, I guess. Little small villages nestled in big mountain ranges.
And you guys discovered that there was a rich history in alpine climbing, and I don't know about ski mountaineering, but definitely alpine climbing. Is that true?
Yeah, for sure. We visited the Spinetti Mountaineering Museum and basically kind of got the rundown from our tour guide, Merab Hergiani, and of basically all their proudest moments in worldly mountaineering history, of things of their ascents of Georgians' ascents in the Dolomites. And in the Soviet era, basically Georgia had many alpinists as part of the CCP climbing team, which is sponsored by the government of Russia at that time or whatever. And yeah, so kind of interesting that way.
So JT, you, Tyler, and Seth are now in the town of Ushguli, right? Tell us a little bit about the gear and supplies and everything else that you guys had to carry up.
Yeah, so we left Ashford, Washington, and then we got on planes out of Seattle, and we had about 23 hours of plane time and general traveling time to reach Tbilisi. And we stayed in Tbilisi one night, and the following morning, Merab, our tour guide, picked us up, and then we embarked on a marathon commute up to the northwestern part of Georgia, and that drive was, I think it was about 14 hours, give or take, and a lot of the miles in that drive time were on 4x4 roads, and yeah, definitely roads that we're not used to, and the closer we got to Mestia, which is the little town right before Ushguli, we started getting into one of the foothills, and you could just start to see the big mountains that we were climbing into. And then about 2-hour drive from Mestia into Ushguli was really 4x type terrain, and it was pretty exciting. Single lane roads just nestled along the sides of cliffs, 1,000-foot drops off to the side of the road.
Are you guys wearing your helmets in the car?
We definitely thought about it. I mean, we traversed under massive avalanche slopes. There was remnants of avalanche debris, piled 30 feet high that we were 4x-ing over and through. And this is in May, so a lot of the other snow had melted off, and you could still see remnants of big avalanches, and just a really cool experience. The drive itself was. Then we got into Ushguli, and we met our host family that we were staying with, and yeah, it was really fun to meet and stay with